Papi Chulo. I thought that was a movie star.
There it goes.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the WBC Talks. This is round number 8, and we have great champions with us from all around the world. I'm really pleased of having them. Amir Khan is now connecting. First, I want to thank you, Sochi, for being with us, and I'm going to introduce her and ask her to explain a little bit about the WBC University.
Hello, everybody. It's very nice to be in this panel with all these champions. And I just want to begin to thank and recognize our president, Mauricio Suleiman, for his vision and commitment with education. This boxing educational proposal has all the knowledge that the World Boxing Council has since many, many years ago. Here at the WBC University, we are just not trying to educate the mind, but also the spirit of all the boxing family. I just want everybody to enjoy this panel, and thank you very much for this panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Xochitl. And now I want to ask Mauricio to give us a welcome.
Thank you, Victor. First of all, thank you, champions. It's so great to see your faces, to hear your voices. We're living a movie that we never expected in humanity, something like this to happen. But we have to understand that it's a reality. It is not a punishment, and we have to work together to get out of this together. The world is being united. We created the WBC Talks as a way of keeping communications with our community. And to have the champions panel today is very special for us. Each one of you represent a very special part of the boxing history. And I just cannot thank you enough for your time. And I hope that you enjoy these dynamics. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mauricio. And now I want to introduce our champions. First, I want to introduce, and it's a pleasure to have Abner Mares from Guadalajara and California. I'm not sure if I should say Abner Mares or Papi Chulo or how to call you. Abner Mares.
How you doing, everyone?
31 wins, 3 losses, 1 draw, 15 knockouts, WBC silver bantamweight champion, WBC bantamweight world champion, WBC featherweight world champion, and he has a lot of big fights like Leo Santa Cruz, Daniel Ponce de Leon, Joseph Akbeko, Anselmo Moreno. I would like to see his video if we have it ready. I want to go with Abner Mares' video first. This is Abner Mares. Now,
That's pretty cool.
I want to introduce all the way from Bolton, the UK, my brother Amir King Khan, 31 wins, 5 losses, 21 KOs, super lightweight silver and world champion, current WBC welterweight international champion. Great fights also, Seb Judah, Paulie Malignaggi, Marcos Maidana, Danny Garcia, Canelo Alvarez, Terence Crawford, all the best of the best he has faced. And this is Amir King Khan. Amir, how you doing?
I'm all right, thank you. Thank you for having me on, guys. Just want to say hi to all the guys, all the champions, and Mauricio and yourself, Victor.
Thank you, Amir. I want to watch your video. I want to show you on the ring. This is Amir Khan. Now, next to him, Fres Oquendo, desde Puerto Rico. Are you in Puerto Rico now or are you in New York?
No, I'm in Chicago, the Windy City.
Yeah, you're right. He has 37 wins, 8 losses, 24 knockouts, WBC heavyweight Latino champion. He has faced Roland Chagaev, James Toney, Oliver McCall, and many others. It's a pleasure to have you, Fres.
Thank you. Likewise, with all these great champions here.
Please show the video. That is Fres Oquendo. Thank you, Fres. And now, Callum Smith, all the way from Liverpool. 27 wins, undefeated, 19 KOs. Middleweight champion and WBC silver middleweight champion, EBU super middleweight champion, super world champion, super middleweight also, and diamond champion from the WBC. He has faced Hassan Down, George Groves, John Ryder, and many others. This is Callum Smith. Callum, thanks for being with us.
It's a pleasure, mate. How are you?
Everything is okay. Please.
Yeah, really good.
I want to see your video. That's Callum Smith. And now with us too, Jose Carlos Ramirez, all the way from Avenal, California, 25 wins. He's undefeated also, 17 knockouts, WBC Continental America Super Lightweight Champion, WBC Super Lightweight World Champion. He won that title versus Amir Imam in New York. He has faced Amir Imam, Antonio Orozco, John Cepeda, Maurice Hooker, and he really wants to face Victor Postol. Jose Carlos, how are you?
Very good, Victor.
Thanks for being with us. Please show his video. This is Jose Carlos Ramirez, and I want to thank all the way from Liverpool, Tony Bell. He's showing us that is what time is there. Tony, how are you?
Hello, guys. How's things?
30 wins, 3 losses,
Look
1
at the
draw.
baby, beautiful. How old is the baby?
He's 10 weeks, Mauricio.
10 weeks, a blessing.
Stress.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
He has 20 KOs. He's a WBC silver light heavyweight champion, EBU cruiserweight champion, WBC cruiserweight champion. He has faced David Hay, Makabu, Alexander Usyk, Isaac Silemba, PJ Flores, Nathan Cleverly, Adonis Stevenson. And he's been showing us videos working out with the family at home. Please show his video. This is Tony.
Yes.
Thank you.
How are
Please,
you?
I think you have something special.
Oh, thank you very much. You still not anymore.
Well, first, I'd like to once again thank each one of you for being part of this panel. The intention is to give thousands around the world a moment of relief, a moment of happiness, and to share and learn from you some of the beautiful things that happen and make up your lives as a champion, as a boxer, inside and outside the ring. But before going into detail, I want everybody to please join me in singing happy birthday to Fres Oquendo. It's his birthday. Happy birthday, Fres.
Happy
You're on
birthday.
mute.
Yes.
We cannot hear you, Fres.
Okay.
Playing with these grand champions, especially my friend Victor and Mauricio. I thank you guys as an honor, as always, with the WBC.
Happy birthday. So thank you all. And Victor has very fun dynamics that will get engaged in everyone. So go ahead, Victor.
Thanks for being here. I'm really excited of having you from all around the world and these great fighters and champions. I think I want to start asking everybody how you got involved in boxing. I will start with Fres because it's your birthday.
Yes. I started boxing at the age of 13. I used to, one day this bully, he bullied everybody in 6th grade. And then there was this one day, it was my day to get bullied. And one day they just all, the kids in 6th grade was like, Fred, now you got to fight this, his name was Johnson. His first name, I forgot his first name, but it was Johnson. And then I ended up getting in a fight right after school. It was like over 100 kids. I was in 6th grade, and next he threw a first punch, and that's when I had to defend myself, and I gave him a nice little combination. Natural. Remember, I didn't start boxing till the age of 13 after that fight. So the rest was history. I beat the bully, and that's how I started boxing.
Thanks, Fres. Callum, please let us know how you got involved in boxing.
Yeah, obviously I'm one of 4 brothers and I'm the youngest, and the 3 older brothers all boxed before me, and as a young kid I just wanted to be like my older brothers, and whatever sport they chose to do I probably would have followed. So thankfully it was boxing and I followed them, and the rest is history. We all still do it, and we've all become champions.
Thank you. Amir, how you got involved in boxing?
So I started boxing at the age of 8. I was very hyperactive when I was young. I used to always fight in school. Always used to misbehave. I had so much energy in my body, and my dad took me to the boxing club, which was literally like 5 minutes walk from where I lived. And since then, I never looked back, at fighting outside in the streets or fighting it in school. I started to behave, and it was boxing that changed my life and made me a better person and made me a person to respect people and not to fight on the streets. The only time I used to fight them was in the boxing ring. So boxing in a way changed my life, because without boxing, I don't know where I would have been. I might have been in prison. I might have been in trouble. But boxing definitely saved my life.
That's nice, Amir. Papi Chulo. Abner, I just saw your daughter giving you a kiss there. You are on mute. How you got in boxing?
I come from a big family as well. I got 10 siblings, 11 with me. My older brother was a boxer. So we didn't have someone to take care of us because both of my parents worked really late. So my brother would take me to the gym with him, and I would watch him train. And one day when I was 6-7 years old, for the gym's entertainment, they put me up in the ring to spar this other kid, and I got in the ring. We boxed. I made him bleed, and ever since then, I fell in love with the sport. I started going to the gym every day, and from there, I just, like I said, I fell in love with the sport and continued to do it. But I never liked the sport, to be honest. I'm being true honest, because my dad kind of forced me into it. But I obviously, within time, I found the love and passion for it. So I'm really grateful for that.
And once you fell in love with boxing, you can just never leave it.
You can. There's no turning back. You fall in love with the sport, and that's it.
Tony.
Yeah.
How you got involved in boxing?
I started off kickboxing, and then I knocked someone out clean with a punch and got disqualified. So the kickboxing guy told me I should think about taking up boxing. I took up boxing, and then, to be honest, I stuck at it because I just wanted to impress my father. So I ended up impressing him an awful lot with all the things that I won and things that I've done in boxing. So it was good times. I've had some fantastic times in boxing. It's changed my life. It's changed my family's life, and I just, I couldn't speak any higher of the game, of the business, of the whole thing.
Thanks, Tony. Jose Carlos, how did you get in boxing?
Yeah, I started boxing when I was 8 years old. I come from a very small town, a farming town in the central part of California, and not very much to do. Just people work in the fields, a lot of immigrants, and boxing was something that just opened up, and everyone signing up. I was very, very quiet. I was very shy. And I was very competitive. So I was an overall good athlete. At the time, I was playing soccer, running, cross country, track and field. My father wanted me to do something that was all year long. So he saw the gym opened up in the small community of Avenal. So he was like, it's going to be a good idea to put Jose inside, as he shows a lot of, potential, just because of the character I had, the will, and my killer instinct in other sports. So I started boxing at the age of 8. Won my first amateur fight. Really enjoyed the big trophy I got, and I wanted to come back and show off that trophy to my friends, and that was the beginning of over 200 amateur fights, and now I'm where I'm at now.
Thanks, Jose Carlos. I want to ask each of you, which fighter do you admire, or do you follow, or do you copy at the gym? Who do you admire as a fighter? Who wants to go first? I will go with Callum.
It's hard. I admire a lot of fighters. There's a lot of fighters I watch, and a lot of fighters I like. I like the style of fighting, and some fights I don't copy true to style, but I still respect them and like the way they fight. But for me, the best ever is Sugar Ray Leonard. I believe he could do it all. He could box, he could fight when needed, and I watch a lot of his fights when I was a little boy, and I still to this day watch some of them now and what he went on to achieve at different weights. I just think he's a special fighter, and could do it all. Was an exciting fight, and knew when to box and use his brain at times as well.
But it's someone that you really not imitate in the gym. I mean, it's a very different style from you.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, although his style's not like mine, he's still a fighter I appreciate. He was a bit more flashy and more of a technical fighter. I like, technical boxers like Jorge Linares is a current fighter who I really rate now. He's technically very correct, and I think he's a very good fighter. But there's a lot of top fighters out there at the moment who do look to and try and take a little bit from every fighter. I
think you shared that with Mauricio. Mauricio, is Sugar Ray your the biggest fighter?
Sugar Ray, my biggest hero. He's the one that got me dreaming about boxing. Absolutely, Sugar Ray Leonard.
Fresh. Who do you admire?
It's interesting, Champ, Caleb, and Mauricio speak about Sugar Ray, because speaking of me being bullied at the 6th grade back in 1987, gave him my age away. Right after that fight, my father took me to his house in the West Side in Humboldt Park, Chicago, which is a rough neighborhood. And the biggest fight that weekend was Sugar Ray versus Marvin Hagler. And once I seen that fight at my young age and seen the dazzle and the technique coming after 5 years of retirement, 5 years to fight one of the greatest, if not the greatest middleweight in history, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, who I admire, just Sugar Ray doing what he did, it motivated me to start boxing. And a lot of my interviews and TV interviews and a lot of magazine interviews, you'll see those articles that the Sugar Ray Leonard Marvelous Marvin Hagler fight is what really motivated me to do the Sweet Science. And Sugar Ray was one of my favorite. Of course, my dad used to watch Muhammad Ali when I was a kid. I vaguely remember seeing those fights. But yeah, Sugar Ray Leonard is one of my not only personal friends, that I met several times, and style just I love to emulate, the best as I can. But he's the only one, Sugar Ray.
Jose Carlos, who is your hero?
I grew up watching Chavez and Oscar De La Hoya, seeing what Oscar De La Hoya did, becoming an Olympian and a world champion. That motivated me to go and follow the same path and become an Olympian myself. Chavez, the whole family will cheer on Chavez, and he was such a, liked fighter and good fighter. He had a warrior heart, and he had the most amazing body work that I've ever seen. The way he will attack the body. So that's someone who I really saw. Once I started getting older, educating myself about the sport, Sugar Ray Leonard, phenomenal. Salvador Sanchez, I started searching him and his style. And he's one of the, he became, even though I never got to see him fight live, I was way too young, and he passed away too young. But Salvador Sanchez, a great Mexican champion, who I really like his demeanor, his composure, his attitude of what I saw. He was always with a smile, going inside one of the biggest fights of his career against Wilfredo Gomez from Puerto Rico, and the way he beat him, and such a humble guy. So that's one guy that became my overall favorite. Oscar De La Hoya, obviously, I learned a lot from him too, watching him, his jab, his boxing abilities. And now as an active world champion, I train a lot with Manny Pacquiao. So that's another guy I learned a lot from, just training next to him, sparring him over 16 rounds in a camp. And, I just saw the way he was, his attitude, the way he was with his people, everything he does for his country. That's something beautiful to watch, and I respect that.
Thank you. Tony, who did you admire in boxing? Who did you follow?
It's difficult because I studied boxing from a young age. I always adored and loved the sport. I remember being told by my coach a long time ago to watch a great fighter called Ricardo Lopez to learn about the techniques and then the style of boxing. I studied him religiously. But many of the fighters, I obviously idolized Muhammad Ali. You know, in my opinion, the greatest man to ever put gloves on. I just thought he was an amazing individual. I don't necessarily believe he's the greatest boxer ever, but I do believe he's the greatest man to ever put a set of gloves on for what he stood for and for everything he done. When it comes to the actual style and technique of boxing, there's still different variations of how you would look at it. You know, for a defensive fighter, you don't have to look any further than someone like a Floyd Mayweather or a Pernell Whitaker, rest the soul. And then there's other fighters from an attacking point of view. We have legends like Arturo Gatti, another one who was just amazing to watch, so exciting, rest his soul also. And then the likes of Mickey Ward, your Mike Tyson, your Nigel Benz. I idolized Riddick Bowe. I could go on and on forever. There's just been so many great fights. I mean, could you name me a better body puncher than the great Julio Cesar Chavez? You know, the greatest body puncher, in my opinion, the world's ever seen. Just there's so many. So, you know, I could go on and on. But for me, the minute I punched someone in the face, I fell in love with boxing. And it's never left me since. It'll always stay with me.
I think you want to say something, Mauricio. When you heard Ricardo Lopez, I saw you.
No. It's a great homage to a fighter that from a low weight division to be known in England by a cruiserweight, by a light heavyweight. It's very. I love this list of names that I'm hearing.
Fighters that people don't give enough credit to, in my opinion.
Right, absolutely.
Abner, who did you follow?
There you go. Because I put it on mute because I talk a lot of trash with you guys, and so I don't want you guys to hear me. Nah, you know what? I grew up watching, obviously, and I say obviously because it was around my era, and he was like the biggest fighter and during my, you know, when I was growing up as a kid, and that's Julio Cesar Chavez. My parents, you know, used to watch him. My uncles, my tios. So it was like a religious things, you know. Every weekend or every time he fought, it was a barbecue at the house. Chavez. You know, that's really interesting that Tony brought up Finito Lopez, Ricardo Lopez, because that's someone that I honestly liked his style. He really finesse, a great boxer, really technical, and that's another fighter that I admired growing up. And then obviously once I started getting more involved with boxing, Barrera, Eric Morales, you know, all these great Mexican warriors, because they always left everything inside the ring, always fought their heart out. So yeah, those are my top 5-6 fighters that I looked up to.
Amir.
So yeah, my top few fighters. See, when I started boxing at the age of 8, I had no clue about boxers, who was and who the champions were. But then when I started to get more into it, you know, you start following fighters from your own country. For example, Prince Asim Hamed, Joe Calzaghe, you know, and fighters like that. And I see how Abner and Ramirez also say fighters from Mexico because they have that Mexican background. So you always follow fighters from where you're from. And the reason I used to like watching them is because they used to have the high work rate. And then as I got a little bit older, I started to watch fighters in America more, the likes of old videos of Sugar Ray Leonard, Muhammad Ali. And I started to learn things from them, the great footwork they had, the great speed they had. And with Muhammad Ali, what I loved the most was what he did outside of boxing, not in boxing, because outside of boxing, he was such a great role model. You know, he used to help the poor people, used to go do a lot of charity work, stood for his faith, stood for what he believed was right. And I think, you know, that's what's given me that extra motivation to go out there and speak the truth and help the less fortunate people and open a charity foundation and try to help people. So it's only because of these champions like Muhammad Ali and other fighters out there, which I've learned from, to become a boxer, become a better boxer, and also to do more outside the boxing ring.
Yeah, I think I love what Tony said about Muhammad Ali. Maybe he was not the best fighter ever on the ring.
Correct.
But one of the best persons all around with everything all he did. I want to ask.
He was so respectful as well. Even when he used to meet whoever he met, he always used to make them feel like, you know, they were the special one. Like when I met him about 10 years ago, he made me feel, I was so nervous and so scared to meet Muhammad Ali because I thought this is some superhero and I'm meeting my superhero now. And when I met him, he made me feel so comfortable. He hugged me, he even kissed me, and I couldn't believe it. So yeah, man, I mean, that's why we have to say he's the greatest, because what he was outside the boxing, it made him the greatest.
Next, I want to ask you about your best and your worst fight. But before you answer that, to give you a little time to think about it, I would like to ask Mauricio to tell us how he met the first time Muhammad Ali. This is very interesting, and it comes with the chat.
Well, I was born in boxing. My father was joined the WBC in 1968. I was born 1969. So ever since I have recollection, I have been in the sport one way or another. And one day I was home, I was maybe 2-3 years old, and I heard a very strange noise. So I ran downstairs and I found in the living room 2 huge men with my father. And they were Don King and Muhammad Ali, right there in my living room. Of course, I didn't know them. I had no idea. But that was the type of environment in my house. My father opened the doors of the house to the boxing world since forever. We used to get amateur fighters, trainers, promoters, Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, Chavez. Many go to our house and even have breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and just have a lot of great experiences from those times.
Now, I would like to know which was your best fight. Let's go with Tony. Which one was your best fight?
The best fight of my career, without a shadow of a doubt, the night I became WBC Cruiserweight Champion of the World. Nothing even comes close. I fought at my dream location. There's never been a fight there before. There's never been one since. So I fought at Goodison Park, a football club. As a child, I always grew up wanting to be a professional footballer. But the truth and the fact of the matter is I was just too fat and not good enough. So my greatest dream was going to be stick a ring in the middle of the park, something that had never been done before, and have a fight for the one belt that I always craved, and it was that green and gold belt. It's the belt I always dreamed of lifting as a kid. I just, you know, every boxing match I ever had was chasing that WBC title. So when it finally came that night at Goodison Park, and don't forget, I'd had my opportunity before at light heavyweight against Adonis Stevenson in Canada. It was a culmination of a whole lifetime's worth of work that all came on one night, 29th of May, 2016. My dreams came true, so that was the greatest night of my career. A knockout of Ilunga Makabu, the current, right now, WBC Cruiserweight Champion. I knocked him out in the 3rd round after climbing off the floor in the 1st round of a dramatic fight. So, like I said, the dream destination, the dream scenario, and the dream ending, besides getting me nose broken in the 1st round.
Oh, must be a hard fight after that. Abner.
The hardest fight?
No, but we didn't get Tony Bello's
worst
or hardest.
Worst fight.
It's the worst.
I
Worst.
Stevenson in Canada. Worst fight. I lost that fight very, very hard to come back from. I was coming down to 175 pounds. It was very, very tough because I was walking around at 220. So it showed on the night, and there was just nothing I could do. But he's a brilliant fighter. Well, he was a brilliant fighter. And I lost to the better man on the night, but that was the toughest night of my career to take, without doubt.
Thank you, Tony. Abner, which was your worst fight or the hardest fight?
I'll start with my worst. Let's start with your worst, because that's one thing you want to forget. I think my worst fight was against, obviously, without no doubt, Johnny Gonzalez, because of the results. Obviously, I got knocked out in 1 round. something that I never in my life I thought that would happen to me. I was in my prime during my time. I was already in the list of pound for pound list. I was undefeated. So I mean, all that was hit me really hard. So that was without no doubt, my worst fight ever. My best fight, I think, was on Anselmo Moreno, because at the time I was known as a bully fighter, a one-dimensional fighter, and people gave me no chance against Anselmo because he was so great as a boxer. He was I think he came I think he had over like 10 years of without losing a fight. He was known for being really great boxer, and I guess that was a perfect match for Anselmo Moreno, my style, for him to look spectacular. So that win against Anselmo Moreno at the Staples Center was one of the biggest nights of my life. And then so it was the worst, best, and which one? And that was it, right?
Worst and best, yeah.
Yeah, so those are
Yeah,
it. And so that and then Ponce de Leon too. Ponce de Leon, because I was moving up on weight and he was a heavy hitter, and they thought that I was gonna get knocked out. So
Callum,
Yeah,
which was your best and your worst?
best was defeating George Groves to become world champion. It was probably the first time in my career I was an underdog, and just becoming a world champion was the fight that means the most. It was a dream I'd had since I was a little boy, and every fight I'd had before then was always leading towards that one night of becoming the best in the world and the number one in the division. And I say, for people to put me as the underdog before, it made it a little bit sweeter.
That is your best and your worst?
Yeah. The worst night, it's hard because I'm still yet to lose. So probably my last one was probably the closest fight I've had, and I didn't perform the way I feel I was capable of. So it was probably the worst night for me as a professional, but I still got the result I wanted. So hopefully there's still many more big nights for me.
Thanks, Callum. Amir.
Nice. So I think my worst night was when I was fighting for the WBA, WBA Super, WBC, and the IBF title against Danny Garcia, and the big title on there, which was the Ring Magazine title on there as well. And what happened was, I remember that in the whole training camp, I was not taking it seriously. I thought, who's this guy? This guy's got no chance against me. Saw his old videos, and I only watched. I remember in that whole training camp, I watched one round of his training, and I thought, you know what, easy. I blame myself for that fight, and I remember going into that fight in the first round, I was doing well, and I thought this is going to be easy, and then I got caught and knocked out in round 4 or 5 it was, and I think it made me a better person, but that, till this day it hurts me because I've even tried to get the rematch and I've never been able to get the rematch, and it hurts me because it was a fight that I should have won, and it would have made me a WBC champion. It would have made me the number one. But it's just one of them things, and like I said, it was just a very tough time for me to, being in the top 10 in the world pound for pound rankings, and being, and I think it was that fight, which after that fight, they would have wanted me to fight Floyd Mayweather because I'd won everything, all the titles and everything. And obviously by losing that fight, it did set me back mentally and in boxing as well. And probably one of my best performances has to be against someone like Maidana. Sorry guys, I think I've got. So my best performance has to be against someone like Maidana because that was a fight where he was unbeaten. He was a knockout fighter. He was destroying everybody. Just before fighting me, he knocked out Victor Ortiz, and I was supposed to fight the winner of that for my belt. And it was a fight for me. The first time I fought in America at that fight was at the Mandalay Bay. So it was the first time I fought in Vegas, which was a big experience for me, And and the fight turned out being the best fight of the year, and it was a brilliant fight. I won the fight, and obviously it showed a lot of character, what I was all about. So they're my main 2 fights, my worst and my best. Yeah.
Thanks, Amir. Fres.
My one of my Well, greatest performance was when I got the call from my promoter at the time, American Presents, Dan Goosen, man, he rest in peace. He called my trainer, Papa Trinidad, and gave us some great news of us taking a fight against the Black Rhino, Clifford Etienne. He was like the next Joe Frazier, signed a multi-million-dollar contract with Showtime back in 2001. And, you know, it was a guy who was, you know, beat LeBron Brewster, beat Clay Bay, an Olympian, Mike Tyson look-alike guy who was knocking everybody out. And then it was my turn, and I was only 19-0 at the time. It was at Vegas, and man, I was a big underdog. Like I was like 18 or 19 or 1 underdog in the Vegas Bucks, everybody, and you know, only people that believed I could win that fight was me, my trainers, and my family. You know, and that was one fight to remember. You know, it was one of the greatest victories of heavyweight boxing. I knocked him down 7 times. And eventually stopped him in the 7th round. And yeah, it was the biggest upset in boxing in the ESPN that year and the WBC. And Don Jose Suleiman, he granted me, you know, what he promised me, which is my highest ranking of all the organizations at the time, WBO, IBF, WBA. The WBC blessed me with a top 4 ranking, and that was one of my most precious, you know, moments in boxing because the world took me serious. My controversial losses, unfortunately, for the heavyweight championship twice again. Chris Bird and Ruslan Chagayev from Uzbekistan. Those 2 fights that, you know, deep down in my heart and the world knows that I won. Even Jim Lampley and George Foreman, you know, criticized, you know, the promoters and the judges for not doing what's right, you know, getting my rematches with these guys. And here I am, you know, still to this day, you know, eluded the most prestigious title in sports, which is the heavyweight championship. And like I said, politics, you know, got me not fighting for that green and gold belt, which is, you know, one of my, you know, best performances for that eliminator. You know, and I still never got the chance to fight for the WBC championship. But I did win, you know, Intercontinental, other WBC Latino, which is still precious to me because the WBC always gave me, you know, mad love. They were the first ones to rank me in the world and take me serious. And that's why I think, you know, Mauricio's dad, Jose, for believing in this Puerto Rican from Chicago that nobody didn't think was going to be one of the top heavyweights in that era. And I surprised everyone.
Thank you, Fres. Jose Carlos.
Well, no, I think the best is yet to come, you know, in my career, to be quite honest. But in my 25 fights as a professional, I think the worst performance, you know, where I was kind of hard on myself was against Cepeda. It was a close fight, but I knew towards the end of the fight I picked it up, and I knew I could have done that earlier in the fight and made the fight a lot more in my favor from the beginning of the fight, and I would have made a bigger statement to the public. But then from that fight, I went on and fought the other world champion, Maurice Hooker, in his backyard, and that's how I knew my level as a fighter, where I really am, and I took upon the WBO undefeated world champion, Maurice Hooker, in Texas, and I knocked him out in the 6th round, being one of the probably my biggest fight, becoming unified world champion at super lightweight division. So I went from my worst performance to my best performance, back to back. So I would have to say those 2 are my worst performance and my best performance.
What was the feeling of when you became world champion against Amir Imam in New York at the Madison, and you got the WBC 2005 belt?
No, it was destiny, like it was meant to be. You know, my mother, she got her legal status to be in the United States a few months before my world title fight against Amir Manin at the Madison Square Garden at the Garden in New York. So it was the first time getting in a domestic plane in the United States to go watch me fight for the world title. So well, obviously it was a blessing. Becoming a world champion is something that I, you know, dreamed of becoming since I started boxing and fighting for that green and gold belt. You know, that's the one I had back in the days in my MySpace page all over the background. as a screensaver and all that and all my computers. And so yeah, becoming the WBC world champion was definitely a dream come true. And I made 3 defenses now, and I'm continuing fighting with honor every time I have that belt on me. And I'm looking forward to being world champion for a long time.
Victor, I'd like to say something to Jose Carlos. As we all know, his fight was scheduled for February 2nd in China. That was the first world event which was postponed or canceled due to the current incredible thing we're living around the world. And now it was scheduled for May 9th, and now it's going to be moved back a little bit. I just want to tell you, Champ, that we sincerely are with you. I feel very, very sorry for what is happening to you and many boxers' careers, but it's going to take your character to come back and to be ready. And I'm sure boxing, when this thing is over, boxing is going to boom because you fighters are responsible for giving the world so much happiness, so much action, so much emotion. And boxing has always been the first to stand up to crisis. When 9/11 happened in New York, it was Trinidad against Hopkins, just 15 days after that horrible tragedy, or a month, I'm sorry. When Mexico had the NH1 influenza thing, Canelo Alvarez opened Mexico to the world with a fight in Cancun. So just don't get anxious. Time is gonna come back. Life is gonna go back to normal, and it's gonna be your time in the ring, and you're gonna be the first one. You're gonna make us very proud.
Thank you. No, thank you. And I sincerely understand the importance of staying healthy and the decisions that the state and the national level and the world level they're making due to this COVID-19 crisis. It's a frustration, obviously, for me as a fighter. This is the second training camp that it happens to me for the same fight. But in my part, I'm gonna do my best to stay focused, stay composed, stay disciplined. But more than anything, I think right now we need to all stay healthy, really practice that shelter in place, really take this a little serious so we can get things under control faster, and we can move on with our lives, as you said, and give the people, the fights they want to see, and the action and the entertainment and the smiles and emotions that we create every time we step in the ring. So, it is, like I said, a frustration, a moment for me and my team. But I understand it as an athlete, as a person, as a human being. And, like I said, I'm very sorry for those who bought the tickets, who were excited to watch me perform as a unified world champion here in the central part of California where I live. But they a lot of comments have been very positive, and they're saying it's worth the wait. It's worth the wait against the fight against Postol, and hopefully a undisputed world champion fight against Josh Taylor very soon. So I'm looking forward to it. Again, in my part, I will stay disciplined. I will stay active in a very precautious way. But I'm looking forward to my career. I know there's good things happening, and like I said, it's such an honor for me to be a world champion, especially a WBC world champion. I really respect you guys, you, Mauricio, Victor, and the whole staff. So literally, you guys have treated me like a family since I started fighting for the junior titles all the way to becoming a world champion. And I understand the decisions. So don't worry too much about that. We'll get back in the ring pretty soon.
Thank you, champ. I'm gonna ask you about the funniest moment in boxing for you, and maybe the hardest moment. But first, I want to read some questions that I have here. There's people watching us in Ukraine, USA, Spain, Mexico, UK, Brazil, Panama, and Germany. And we have some questions here for Callum Smith. What did you feel winning the World Boxing Super Series super middleweight tournament with an amazing performance and dominating all your rivals?
Yeah, it was good. It was a good tournament to win. It was a good tournament to be involved in. There was a lot of top fighters in it, a lot of unbeaten fighters, and our world champion. And I knew winning that tournament would make me the best in the division and the #1 in the world. And I knew it was tough, but I always believed I was the best in the tournament, and I just needed the chance to prove it. And I had 3 fights, 3 wins, and I left as the best super middleweight in the world, which was always the goal. It was always the aim to become #1. And now it's all about staying #1 and keep winning and taking on all challenges and trying to win the other belts. I'd like to be undisputed champion. That's the ultimate goal. And I'm in a good division with a lot of top fighters and a lot of good unbeaten champions. And I'd love to face them one day.
Thanks, Callum. I have
Hey, Victor, Callum and his family, they're such a beautiful group, and your work for autism, the conscience for autism is sensational. We follow it, and it's coming, I believe, on the 4th of this month. It's the celebration, the World United for Autism. So just congratulations for doing such a tremendous social responsibility work.
Thank you very much.
Here's for Tony. Someone said, I remember I was about to interview Tony at the WBC Miami convention, and Julio Cesar Chavez showed up. Tony kindly asked me if I can wait a little bit so he can meet him. After taking a couple of pictures, he told me that he was one of his idols. I'm not sure if you remember that. And here's a question. Tony, real life Rocky. What happened through your mind when Makabu knocked you down? How did you get up and won that belt?
It was tough. I was winning the first round so convincingly, and I hit him with a body shot. I remember sinking a left hook into his ribs and hearing that noise when a guy's hit to the body. And what happened is I jumped on him, and he's a dynamite puncher. He always has been, he always will be. I backed up with my chin in the air, and he happily obliged. I nearly took it clean off my face. So it was very hard. It was a hard knockdown to get up. He hit me so hard, he rolled me over backwards. But the only thing that I can say gets you up is desire, determination, and just a belief in myself that I could get this done. You know, as I said to you before, I dreamed of becoming WBC champion my whole life. It was the only belt that mattered me. I was never interested in other belts, and this is no need to as a slant on any other belt, because they're all fantastic belts. But you have to understand that growing up as a child, I seen all the great champions, your Ray Leonards, your Marvin Haglers, your Floyd Mayweathers, your Lennox Lewis, your Mike Tyson. Everybody held that green and gold belt above the chest, and everybody held it proudly. And I was so hell-bent and driven on becoming that champion. You know, I idolized Roy Jones growing up, and although Roy had all the belts, the one that you could see that he obviously cherished was the green and gold, and he just valued it so highly. And I think a lot of fighters do. So I don't know how I've got to saying that, but how did I get myself off that floor? Purely and sheerly self-belief and determination.
I really I was with you in some of your fights, but I remember especially the fight against Usyk.
Yes.
After the fight, you was excited, and I got in the dressing room because I brought to you the WBC birthday present.
Yes.
And you were really excited. You were really feeling that fight. You were even crying. I remember meeting you there, giving you the present, and you were you hugged me and you were really, really excited about that fight, about that moment. You were so sensitive about it.
Yeah, all the things that I've had through my career, the belts and the medals that I've won with the WBC, I only pass them on to my children. So I have 4 beautiful boys, and I just pass them on to the boys. So it's another gift or something to go home with. After fighting Usyk, I went home with not only a couple of presents, but a couple of black eyes also. He was an unbelievable fighter. He's the best I ever faced. I'll happily say that. He was fantastic. A lot of people comment on how I was winning after 7 rounds and whatever have you. That's no good. You know, it was a 12-round fight and he come on strong when he needed to come on strong. So I only wish him well. He's a fantastic champion. As I said before, the best I ever faced. I have no problem with losing to someone as good as him. You know, he can claim to be the greatest cruiserweight of all time because he's done what no other cruiserweight has done before him or after him. He's held all the belts and he's defended all the belts on a number of occasions. So, as I said, brilliant fight. I was happy I took it. I have no regrets. I wanted to see how I could fare against the best, and he was the only ever cruiserweight to beat me. I beat every other cruiserweight that I faced in my career. And as I said, I just lost out and came short against possibly the greatest cruiserweight of all time.
And Tony, I just want to say how beautiful it is, your relationship with your father and your son. Your dream, doing the things for your father and do it for your sons. It's beautiful. It really hits me personally. And also to congratulate you for being the WBC champions representative in the Board of Governors with Jeff Fenech. Both of you are, and once this gets moving, we're gonna have a lot of things where you can do great things for your peers and the fighters in the sport.
Thank you, Mauricio. It's an honor. It really is. It's an honor to be part of WBC and then still continue some of the work that I do with fighters now, and obviously represent the organization. Anything that I could do to help WBC, I will always be there and happy to do so. You know, boxing has a lot of tragic stories with fighters coming towards the end and leaving the game broke. I'm always on hand to help any of the fighters that I know, you know, educate and help, because, you know, we're not the brightest people in the world as boxers. You know, when you've been punched in the face for 20 years like I have, a lot of the brain cells go missing on you after a certain space of time. So, you know, teaching boxers to invest the money, save the money, and make it work for them further on in the future, like as I have done, you know, that's what I would always suggest. So anything I can do, Mauricio, for the WBC and anybody else, I would always be there, you know, no problem at all. It's an honor.
Thank you, Tony. We got here, it's a comment from Coach Terry. Hello, Amir. As you're talking about how you started boxing, I was thinking about Athens 2004. What a great team, and what a great team it was. Greetings to all. Such a great fight.
Yeah, Athens were amazing. And that was over in 2004 Olympics. That's the first time people knew who Amir Khan was. No, before then, I won the championships and nobody knew who I was. And the Olympics totally made me who I am. And I think I appreciate all the fans and all the people I have supported me, because since the Olympics, they're still supporting me, and it's been amazing to be in this position.
Thanks, Amir. Now, I want to know the funniest moment and the hardest moment in boxing for you. Callum, which was your funniest moment?
I don't know the funniest moment in boxing. Tough question. The hardest moment for me is inactivity, when you're training, waiting for fights, and fights don't happen for whatever reason, and you're in the gym constantly working hard, trying to improve and get fit, and when fights keep getting put back or postponed, it's frustrating, because as a fighter, all you want to do is fight and prove you're the best and see how good you really are. So that's been the frustrating part for me throughout my career.
Thanks, Callum. Abner?
I knew I was gonna be next. That's a hard one. A funny one. I don't remember anything funny happening in the ring. Yeah, that's a hard one. I can't remember one,
Outside
but
the ring. I mean, in
I'm
training
sorry?
camp or
During
even
training camp,
outside the ring.
even outside the ring, right? Well, I'm gonna say the hardest for sure. In my, the difficulties that I've gone through, suffering my detached retina, my injury. Um, you know, that obviously that one's the hardest. And the funniest, I don't know, I can't think of anything to be honest. But the detached retina was without no doubt the most difficult one and the hardest one that I can remember.
Let me tell you a funny moment. I was in Mexico City, WBC convention 1988, and after the meeting we went to a big restaurant with like 1,000 people in the luncheon. Don King, Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, many champions, and my father was getting Tyson to his table. So he tells me, please take care of Muhammad Ali. I'll come right back. So we're standing there, and Ali tells me, I'm very hungry. So I just look around. Muhammad Ali is Muslim, okay? So I see this pork shrine piece. So I grab it. ¿Cómo se dice? Chicharrón, pork shrine. So I grab it and I give it to Muhammad Ali. He takes a bite, starts eating. He says, takes another bite and keeps eating. And he says, what is this? I'm a little kid. I just say pork.
Oh my God. You're crazy. As a Muslim,
Eating
Mauricio, one thing I want to say to you is that if you ever invite me to eat somewhere, I'm not going to eat.
Okay.
I don't know what you're going to give me.
Only fish for you.
Yeah.
Then we can go with Jose Carlos.
I think the hardest part is the weight. As Callum Smith said, the sacrifices we go through. Leave our families behind. I have a 4-year-old boy. As a father, I want to spend as much time as I can with them. But yeah, we got to go to training camps. We got to sacrifice, and for the fights to get canceled or postponed or things like that happening, yeah, it's hard. It's hard for us, for the team, as we want to, grow as a fighter. The funniest, I think a lot of funny things happen in camp. As a team, especially now with Robert Garcia, man, there's a lot of funny things that happen there. And I'm the quiet one. I just, I just laugh. But there's a lot of funny moments that happen, especially after a strong week of training. There's one occasion, I won't say too much, but Mikey was like, hey, Jose, you want to go have dinner? And I was like, sure. And I was like, what time? And he said 9 p.m. And I was like, well, that's kind of late. It's the beginning of our training camps. And he goes, yeah, we have I know a place that has a $2 steaks. And I was like, $2 steaks? And anyways, it happened to be a strip club that has $2 steaks on that specific night. It was the funniest thing, because we ended up, we ate, and I told Mike, I gotta go, man. I gotta go. So he left too. He goes, he was trying to pull a joke on me. And he goes, there's your $2 steak. And he got like a 4-ounce steak with rice, and there's girls dancing everywhere. And I just told him, I gotta go, man. And he goes, so we all left. And but it was pretty funny. We talked about it.
Thanks. Press.
My funniest moment when I was in training camp, when Freddie Roach was my trainer back in 2005, 2006. I was getting ready for Evander Holyfield, and my funniest moment was Freddie Roach had weekly sparring sessions with other celebrities coming town, and they'll spar. And my brother Henry Oquendo, because Mario Lopez, he didn't have nobody in his corner, and he was inspired with, I mean, fight some dude that came from another gym. It was just so hilarious because I'm like, Mario Lopez, this guy that was, you know, in these soap opera shows. I mean, is he a real boxer? And, you know, he's all built and stuff like that. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool, brother. Went to my fight, you know, I supported Latino in boxing. And when the fight started, you know, he was doing pretty good. But this guy just, you know, threw a little haymaker, you know, hurt him, bumping him. And man, he was like, we were a little worried. It's like round two, but, you know, he was hurt. And then my brother, you know, he's been in my corner with Papa Trinidad, so he had a lot of experience. So he felt comfortable with him. So next, you know, Mario's, man, I thought he was gonna give up, but I guess my brother put some water, and you know, it went a little bit, and it like slightly suffocated, man. He just resurrected, and man, the next round he ended up, man, pulling on and beating that guy. It was just so hilarious because when they poured the water on him, he was like, you know, drowning, making it worse. I'm thinking this guy's gonna get stopped now. But no, that was my funniest moment. Oh yes, everybody, you know, they got me. It was, I believe, it was a tournament, and we were with our buddy Celestino Ruiz, who I, you know, grew up with in boxing. He's one of the top officials in boxing from Chicago, and I was in his house, and someone snuck up with one of my favorite teddy bears. Everybody showed, they took this picture. Oh my God, that was a long time ago.
You see this heavyweight mean punch
Right.
with a teddy bear.
Yes, that's gotta be one of my top. That's a good one. Wow, that was a good one. I forgot about that one. Yes, that was a great one. Actually, I got a picture of me and my brother that day, Mauricio. And then you know, the most hard times of boxing again in recent times in the last couple of years. Unfortunately, all this, you know, which that's why I applaud Mauricio doing something that's right, you know, for justice, for the sport. You know, drug testing, doping. You know, he's the first one to come out and be like, you know what, we can't be covering this. We gotta be right, 100% for the fighters, even playing field. And man, I was so happy. And unfortunately, in my career, towards my last part, you know, I'm still in it with this controversy. I'm supposed to fight Lucas Brown. Next thing you know, he tested positive for steroids back in 2016, and then I was supposed to fight Shannon Briggs. You know, he tested positive 2017, and then I was supposed to fight Manuel Char. So he tested. I mean, it's crazy that you know, it was just unjust in my career that, you know, I trained my butt off like the champs were saying earlier. You know, you take months of your time, you know, away from your family. You know, I even missed my daughter's graduation. You know, her kindergarten. Man, it broke my heart when I was in training camp. And then for this to happen, it's just not right, man. And it's unfortunate these sanctioning bodies, you know, they put you through a ringer and all this. But the WBC, like Mauricio, you know, says his father, man. I mean, I learned so much, you know, being precious to the fighters for the even playing field. I mean, these other organizations, I'm not trying to, you know, throw anybody under the bus, but what Mauricio's been doing, they all should follow, you know, and do the right thing. And here I am, you know, you know, doing the right thing, training, sacrificing, missing my family for years. You know, half a decade of my career has been postponed due to these fighters testing positive, and it's just sad that that's had to be the hardest part of my career. That, you know, I'm training my butt off for the last 5 years of my career. You know, my last heavyweight championship fight was 2014 against Ruslan Chigaev, which a fight that many people thought I won. And I was supposed to fight him in rematch, and he ended up, you know, retiring and other controversies. So those were my bad part in my boxing career that left a salty taste. But other than that, you know, that's it. That was it.
Thank you, Fez. Tony, your best moment.
I think we've done the best moment.
Yeah.
Story.
But the hardest moment, as the guys have said, Carlin and Juan Carlos, it's always being away from the family. I've spent months away. I've been was fighting for nearly 20 years from amateur and pro. My eldest boy is 14, and the saddest part about it is I'm just getting to know him now. because I've spent that long away from home, months away at camp. And even when you come home, it's like you're not really at home because your mind's on the fight and you just train. You get home, you're tired. Or I would do a lot of my camps in Sheffield, or I would be in New York for quite a lot of them earlier on in my career. It's just a long time away from home. I wasn't as unfortunate as Fred with as many failed fighters with the drug test, and he's spot on what he says, Mauricio, and the WBC are doing brilliant things. The only thing I would say is I would like to see these bans a lot more stricter for the guys that are blatantly cheating. You know, I'm not gonna, as we said before, not gonna throw anyone under the bus here, but I want to see guys punished properly. I don't want to see a slap on the wrist and a couple of months, or I want to see them punished, because you've got to understand, guys, people taking drugs going into a boxing ring, this isn't, and I'm not condoning that what I'm going to say at this level, but this isn't a 100-meter race where nobody gets hurt. This is a fight, and there's lives at risk. And if somebody's going to cheat and take anabolic steroids, they need to be punished accordingly. So I've been very vocal on what I've said about drug cheats and how they should be treated. I just think, you know, boxing is hard enough as it is. It really is. And no one gets to become a world champion and do it easy. There is no easy way there. We all train hard. We all spend time away from our family. We all do horrendous things in training camp. It's not an easy ride, man. It's not easy. As for the funniest thing, I would say, there ain't been many laughs in a 20-year boxing career, to be honest. I think the funniest thing that ever happened, I was, my first couple of years as a professional, I was training in Manchester. And some people are going to find this funny, some people aren't. The coach told me to throw a left hook to the head. And for some reason, he put the pad as a left hook to the body. And automatically, I just slung the left hook to the head where it should have been. And the dope put his chin there. And I am not joking, he went fast asleep. And he found it funny when he woke up. He didn't know what had happened, but everybody else in the gym cried laughing. But I was worried, to be honest, because it hit him pretty clean. I always had a good left hook, but that was about the funniest thing that ever happened to me in a gym.
Thanks, Tony. Amir?
No problem.
Can you hear me? We cannot hear you.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, the funniest thing. Look, in this boxing business, it's quite hard to have funny times, especially when you're in training camp. But I do remember one thing when I was in San Francisco one time, and there was this big event where Mike Tyson was doing his, the talk show he does on stage. So I'm there with the head of Amazon, the head of Google, the head of all the, Facebook was there, Mark Zuckerberg, they were all there. And as soon as Mike Tyson walks in, ignoring all the people who were there because there's some filthy rich people in that room, he turns around and says, first thing he says in the room, he goes, "Oh my God, Amir Khan, how's it going?" He came and hugged me. I mean, it was the best thing ever because he did not acknowledge anyone else but me. And I thought to myself, I was probably the smallest guy there, probably the least wealthiest at that time. And he turned around and come and gave me a hug first. So, I mean, boxing has some great memories. I mean, there's a lot of good memories I could talk about, which I think my wife found out she'll want to kill me. But I mean, leave it there. We want to leave it there, to be honest with you. But I've had some crazy ones. But look, honestly, one thing I said, I mean, boxing is my life and it's changed my life. And it's also about the best experience in boxing. Without boxing, like I said, it would be very hard to enjoy this life. So every day is a roller coaster. There's always something happening in boxing. There's always some new things happening. So, yeah.
We never thought that we're going to watch Amir Khan with a baby bottle.
Yeah, that's the little ones. I've got the kids, man. It's hard work, guys. They got the water bottle, they got the milk bottles and everything. This is me outside of training camp, looking after the kids and babysitting.
I know your family, all of you are family men. It's good. It's good to have.
No, we have to be.
I want to thank Fez Batista, Alina, Eddie Montalvo, Maris Abdoli, Stefan Pryor, Felicia Ortiz, Frank Garza, Stephen Blair, Patrick Smith, Jill Diamond, Kevin Noon, Pepe Suleiman, Nancy Rodriguez, and we have thousands of Instagram viewers. Thanks for being with us. And I have one more question. As you talk about Muhammad Ali and all he did outside the ring, I just noticed that Callum Smith and Jose Carlos Ramirez are some of the most social active fighters I can ever remember. I want to congratulate them for being terrific, undefeated, top fighters, but also champions in real life. I would like to ask you if you can, we're gonna have to wrap this up. If you can talk a little bit about your foundation, Callum.
Yeah, obviously, you know, I have a younger sister who's autistic, so as a family, we just try our best to help raise awareness, raise as much money as possible for charities, and help out, you know, local families and schools who, you know, deal with children with autism and, you know, adults with autism as well. It's, you know, when my little sister was diagnosed, I didn't know a lot about it, but as the years going on, you see more and more people diagnosed with it, and it's just getting the, you know, the awareness out there and letting other people understand autism. Like, you know, we having to, you know, live with my little sister.
Thanks. Jose Carlos.
Yeah, I have a number of foundations. One is scholarships, to give scholarships to the kids from the Avenel High School. Again, Avenel is a very small community. I live in Fresno now. The bigger city, the heart of the Central California. I also have the main foundation that gives to food banks, that fights for water and for cancer too. So we kind of just split the money at the end of the year and give it to different organizations. We try to help as many as we can, especially right now with Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. We just partner up with them to help them raise a certain amount of money this year for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. So we try to do, the foundation overall tries to do a lot of things and donate to different charities. Right now, as we speak, I'm getting 2 trucks ready to go to help the field workers. As you know, there's the coronavirus has put a lot of people out of their jobs and they're staying in their homes. However, the people working in the fields, they still have to go and harvest the food. So they're out there, and when they go to the stores, when they're off work, there's not enough supplies, Lysol, napkins, cleaning supplies, toilet paper, food, everything's gone off the shelves. So right now I'm getting 2 trucks to take to the fields and give them their food and their supplies so they could take home with them. Again, we're taking very precautious standards. But yeah, we try to do as much as we can, especially for the immigration, for the people that are working hard.
I met Ramirez when he won the title. We had a meeting at the WBC office in Los Angeles, and he just bought a car because he did not want to just make a direct donation. So he bought a car so he could auction it and sell tickets, raise more money, so they could get more money for the society. What we have in this panel is the modern Muhammad Ali. All of you are a proud members of society. Professor Kendo won the award at the WBC convention, the humanitarian award.
My heart. My foundation.
What Ramirez has done with the water and just changing laws. I mean, this is tremendous work. Abner Mares, tu hermanita, la quiero mucho, que Dios la bendiga y que siga echándole ganas. And Callum, as I said, Tony, Amir has an unbelievable foundation, works with the kids. You all are so special. And this has been one of the greatest moments in my time as WBC president to share this moment with you all, because you are very special for the WBC. Now, let's concentrate in working together, stay at home, our mental health positive, influence others to remain calm and don't become anxious. And you are great leaders, so you can do a lot of work in your social media, give positive messages, and we'll get through this. And I promise that for Ramirez, who has a pending fight, and all those who have pending fights coming up, we will do the best possible to support the networks and the promoters and everything to make this as better as possible for everyone. God bless you. Thank you all very much. And we'll be seeing you very soon.
Thank you.
Thank
Silva,
you, guys.
Mauricio.
You guys, good luck, everybody.
Likewise,
Good luck,
guys.
champ.
Tony,
bless.
thank you, everybody.
Champ.
Thanks for your time. Thanks for being with us. Xochitl, thank you very much. You want to say something?
Okay, thank you. Well, just say thank you to everybody, for all the champions, for sharing this channel. I just want to close with this image, Mauricio, from your father and Nelson Mandela. Education is the most powerful weapon we can use to change the world. Let's keep in touch during these solidarity rounds from the WBC talks, and let's see each other again soon. Thank you very much.
Amen.
Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody. Thanks.
Amen.
Gracias.
Adiós, saludos.
Thank you.
Saludos, gracias.
What do you think, son? Already? Nothing to do. No other boxing hit this. But you know that us boxers, we care. We care about people. You know what I'm saying, son?